Her father was killed in the face of 3 children in Kosovo. Since the day she started to write her diary, and I have this diary in my hands. He was killed because he donated his house to the OCC monitors, and the first people who were killed in Kosovo are those who gave their houses to Americans and Europeans who went to Kosovo during the time of the negotiation in Rambouillet. So I have heard a lot of other stories. A 9 months pregnant lady was forced in the station of Pristina to give birth operating herself. Can you imagine? So the massacres are massive in Kosovo. So there are some collateral, and I really do not like to see people, innocent people being killed in both sides, neither in Kosovo nor in Serbia. But this is war, and until Milosevic is going to agree with 5 items of the agreement, this war should continue. Otherwise, I think it will be very, very bad for the authority of NATO, United States, and all the democratic countries.
Sports, from your kids' high school games to the hottest teams around the region.
We're connected to your world. We're CN8,
the Comcast Network.
It's your call this hour on refugees in America. They were greeted by handmade signs that said in their native language, "Welcome to America." Hundreds of ethnic Albanians have arrived at Fort Dix, New Jersey, with more on the way. Now, just how long they'll stay is unknown at this time, as is the cost the U.S. will incur by providing transportation, housing, medical care, and food. Some Americans are overwhelmingly in favor of bringing refugees here, given the political climate in Kosovo, but others are against it, saying there are people right here at home that could use our government's help. We'd like to know what you have to say. You can call us with your thoughts and opinions anytime in the next hour, and the call is toll-free from anywhere in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or Maryland. My first guest is Mal Berisha, the former Consul General of the Republic of Albania and the Foreign Affairs Advisor to the Albanian-American Civic League. As always, it's wonderful to have you with us.
Pleasure.
Fort Dix, New Jersey is a very long way from home for many of these refugees. I imagine that the journey was very difficult.
Yes, actually they took that way after a tragic situation in their own country, and after a disaster situation in Macedonia, where they stayed for almost 1 month in the campus. So they are going to be accommodated in a very nice place of United States, thanks to the generosity of the American people, American government, and this great country.
Now, obviously, the Americans are not the only country welcoming refugees from Albania.
Yes, there are others who are going to New Zealand, others to Australia, others went already to Germany, and all these nations are helping these ill-fated people to at least to enjoy for some times in their own country.
When we see these refugees like this young boy descending the plane steps onto American soil, it's hard to tell that they are ethnic Albanian refugees. They look like youngsters that might be home from a trip from Walt Disney World.
Yes, we should know that Albanians are part of Europe, and they are a European country, European people, so look like all Americans and Europeans. There is no difference, neither in the point of view of race or ethnicity or something like this.
And yet there is something that the Americans can tell about these individuals when they are garbed in the traditional clothing like we see here. Are these people happy to be here? Is this at least a safe place for them at this point in time?
Well, in this point of view, of course, they are happy because they are safe in United States, provided by food, shelter, and everything. And yesterday it was a very great ceremony when they offered everything to them. First of all, the goodwills, and then foods and clothes and everything. But there is another face of this coin. They are very, very desperate because they left behind their own relatives. Some of them left parents or brothers or sisters or families or relatives or friends. So in the other hand, they left their country destroyed, their house burnt out, they left everything, and they are stripped from everything. The only thing that they have now is hope to NATO and United States.
I would imagine that they are very pensive in coming to America because it's completely different as far as a culture than what they're used to.
Yes. I would like to say that to come to the United States is a dream for every person from the Balkans, and especially for Albanians who suffered a lot. But when they came here, of course, they touched the land of democracy and generosity and, you know, the land of this great country.
Let's find out what some of our viewers have to say on this topic. Rita, thank you for joining us. It's your call. Rita? Your call? What do you have to say about the refugees now in New Jersey?
Oh, I'm for them coming into the country because every year we have thousands and thousands of illegal aliens that come into this country. Here the United States are inviting these people in, which has been what's happened years ago. This is the melting pot of the country. We've invited people in. We have all these illegals come in, and every so many years the government just says, okay, let's give them amnesty, and it's okay to stay here.
Right. There are some who are comparing Fort Dix, New Jersey to a modern-day Ellis Island. Do you see the comparison?
Well, yes, and like I said, I'm in favor of it. I think these people are in trouble. Bring them in. Let's help them out. I mean, we help everybody else.
All right. Thank you very much. Tom, it's your call.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
It does my heart good to see these people get the relief and come to our country. It makes me proud to be an American as well. But I'm not for the bombing of the Serbian people either. But the wealth of this country is so great that these people really are no burden to us, and it does us good to take them in. Maybe your guest could answer some questions for me. I originally thought that there were going to be 20,000 Albanians coming to the country, and they were going to go to Guantanamo Bay, actually.
Right.
And I understand from watching the news tonight that I think a lot of these people are being sponsored, and will a certain percentage of them probably wind up staying permanently? One other thing, one of your callers suggested that, you know, financially, you know, this is costing us money.
Right.
But there are other countries that are taking on a lot more than we are, and they're not as wealthy as we are. Germany, for instance, does this on a regular basis, and they're even talking about taking in more than they originally planned.
All right, let's ask Mal Barisha to address those concerns, starting with how many. Is there any indication of how many people might eventually end up here?
Well, actually, I know that, you know, through media channels that 20,000 Albanians are coming from Macedonia here, because the problem is that Macedonian government today took a very tough position. They kept people in the border. They are keeping all the time without giving them foods and help according to the United Nations humanitarian standards. And everybody knows that Macedonian government is being sponsored by the United States and NATO in this situation. So they're coming here. And I would like to say that these Albanians who are coming here, they like to go back. But if the situation is coming in such a way that they have to stay here, I would like to say that nobody could be worried, because we have 500,000 Albanians here in the United States, and nobody is in a bad economic position. So I know that there are some, you know, poor people in the United States, but Albanians are not lazy. They are very hard worker people.
We are joined now by Professor Wolfgang Dansbeck-Gruber, the director of the Liechtenstein Research Program at Princeton University. As always, we're looking forward to his analysis of the developments. It's nice to have you back with us.
Thank you very much.
How important is it that the United States accept these refugees?
As in my evaluation, it's extremely important. It's not just the notion that we get refugees to us, but it's also a symbolic value in comparison particularly to other countries. And the previous caller raised an important point, and that is one has to see the influx of refugees, or the picking up of refugees, whom I don't want to call refugees in the first place, but they are deportees, displaced persons, who were thrown out of their houses and homes. And one has to see whatever this United States of America does for them in conjunction and in comparison with the thousands of others, sometimes illegal or less legal, people, immigrants who come to this country. And the symbolic value of the United States, for the United States action, is particularly in the example this shows and gives to other European and neighboring countries to do an equal effort to bring them in.
And that's important for Americans to know, that other countries are taking in some of these displaced persons, as you put it. Eric, it's your call. What do you have to say about the refugees in America?
Go back to their country. It is very unlikely that these people will want to go back to Kosovo after being in the U.S.
All right, let's address each of those points individually. We are joined once again by Mal Barisha. Is the KLA, as Elias said, to blame for the ongoing action?
Absolutely no. KLA is very much, known as a group of freedom fighters to protect their honor, to protect their families, their land, and their properties. There is an organization in Kosovo today which is killing people and raping women, which is named White Wolf in English, or Beli Vuko. Unfortunately, it is a surname like the Vuk Drašković. Vuk is wolf in Serbian language. Probably Edita knows better than me. So this group is going to every door, knocking and getting people out, killing them, separating people, men from women, etc. These kind of things that we have seen through television. So Kosovo Liberation Army is a group of young Albanians. Do you believe that a 17 years old lady from the Bronze went to Kosovo as a terrorist? She went there because her sister and mother is there being raped by these kind of groups.
You're talking about individuals from America who have gone to Albania to volunteer for the KLA.
Hundreds of them.
So from a different perspective, Edita, is the KLA the blame?
Well, first of all, just to address this point about hundreds of Albanian Americans going to fight for KLA, they're breaking federal law, American federal law, by doing that. That's the first point. The second point is KLA is a terrorist organization. As I've made this point several times, it's been so classified by the State Department. They're drug trafficking, they're Marxist, and in fact, the G8 peace plan that came out today calls for disarming of the KLA. So they're not freedom fighters.
Doesn't mean that it is a terrorist group, because G8 today decided for, what you mentioned. G8 mentioned to disarm according to the Rambouillet agreements. So one of the items of this agreement is to disarm Kosovo Liberation Army. It is part of
because
solution.
they were part of the problem, and that's why they want to disarm them.
Yes, but
and there
this
can never
agreement
be
was
peace
opposed
in
by
Kosovo as long as the KLA calls for secession of Kosovo from Yugoslavia. KLA is not calling for peace. KLA has called for NATO bombing to continue.
The provisional government of Kosovars is led by Hashim Thaçi, who is leader of Kosovo Liberation Army. And this guy was part of the Albanian delegation in Paris and Rambouillet. And he signed the agreement in a time when the Serbian delegation left the room without signing an agreement.
But in fact,
so if it is leader of an organization, terrorist organization, then the United States and NATO is not going to acknowledge this agreement as a legal one.
Let's go back to the telephones. Shazar, thank you for joining us. It's your call.
Hi, I want to point out that based on what happened and what is happening in Kosovo, in which masked men went around killing people, only shows that the Serb neighbors did most of the killing and raping of the Kosovars. I would say independence for the Kosovo is the only solution, and the KLA is not a terrorist organization and never was. And I don't know where you're getting that information from.
State Department.
It is not true.
American
there is no record.
All right, thank you very much, Shazar. Ivory, thank you for calling.
Yes. This is what I want to say. I don't mind the refugees coming over, but what about our Vietnam vets? World War II vets. They have no place to stay. We have vets staying in the